Edward Bernays, widely considered the father of modern day marketing, once said, "The most dangerous businesses aren't reckless, they're confidently wrong." Let's think about that for a second. Most companies don't collapse because they're chaotic or careless. They collapse because they're certain that their marketing, their pricing, and their overall strategy is the best. But that certainty becomes their biggest vulnerability. Because today, we're not looking at bad businesses. We're analyzing why good businesses that seem to make logical decisions fail through a three-pillar approach. But before we dive into anything, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ansh, and I'm a junior at Monte Vista High School, where I serve as the president of the Statistics Club and the marketing manager for the school's PTSA. In terms of DECA, I am a three-time state qualifier, having placed top five times at regionals, and I had the honor of competing at ICDC in 2025 for the Integrated Marketing Campaign event. But growing up in Boston, Massachusetts area, there were two key things that defined my childhood there. The first, cooking. As a child, cooking was always my favorite thing to do. It allowed me a structured yet creative way to express myself. I loved working with all the individual ingredients and seeing how they came together to create a unified product. But most of all, I enjoyed serving up my creations to my family and seeing how they reacted and their feedback. But when I wasn't cooking, I was eating. Eating was always the best part of cooking for me because it allowed me the opportunity to appreciate how every moving part eventually came together to create a lovely whole. And as I grew up, my coveted position on top of the kitchen counter eventually moved to behind the stove, where my love for cooking only expanded. In fact, it became a long-term goal of mine to one day have my own food truck and be able to share my creations with hundreds upon hundreds of people. Keeping this in mind, when it came time to choose my virtual business challenge, my mind instantly gravitated towards the virtual business challenge restaurant. BBC Restaurant is meant to emulate the real world managing of a restaurant in four key facets. The first is menu pricing and product mix creation, in which one designs a menu and prices it accordingly. Next is marketing and promotion strategy. This entails creating a brand image that actually attracts customers into your restaurant. Next is operations and staffing allocation. This includes creating a staffing schedule that is not too much, but not too little, and allows for operations within the kitchen and waiting staff to be optimized enough to create the best customer service experience for customers. And lastly is financial growth management, making sure that what's being happening in the restaurant actually leads to profits. Now, when I approached the BBC Restaurant Challenge, I expected to be able to manage these moving parts simultaneously. However, upon completing it, I went bankrupt. Not once, not even twice. I went bankrupt four times. Now, upon these iterations, I learned a lot about managing a restaurant and business risk in general. Lessons that can be best emulated through the story of Boston Market. Boston Market is in its prime, had over 1,200 locations, a market cap of $3.2 billion, and a growth of 4,662% in just the first 14 years of its establishment. However, due to poor management and bad decisions, these numbers plummeted to just 16 locations, a market cap of $3.8 million, and a profit decrease of 96.2%. This left one question in the minds of millions of Americans. How? How did Boston Market go from one of the most recognizable names in the food industry to on the verge of extinction in just a couple of years? Well, this answer can be analyzed in a three-pillar approach, with the first being staffing, the second being marketing, and the last being branding. All three of these pillars can be exonified in the Boston Market story, as well as the BBC Restaurant Challenge. Upon my first run of the simulation, My biggest issue was around staffing. My methodology was fairly straightforward. More staff equals faster service, and faster service equals happier customers. What seemed to be a logical decision actually did not work out that way at all. What ended up happening was overstaffing. I had way too many waiters and cooks on any given day, meaning that when I was analyzing my profit to revenue graph, I saw that even though my revenue was steadily increasing, the ratio between my revenue and my profit was not good. This meant that I was unable to turn a profit because of these high labor costs. Boston market experienced a similar problem with inefficient labor at high costs. The labor workers at Boston Market had to do things such as on-site food preparation. They had to work at carving stations and other labor-intensive processes that meant that at any given Boston Market location, there were very high labor costs, meaning that even if the restaurant was packed with customers, they were having large difficulties turning a profit on those customers. But the next mistake I made, and the next mistake that Boston Market made, was with low margins. Boston Market has a low margin scheme in which they have a high menu with a lot of diverse options, but with low margins. They have high preparation meals, such as the rotisserie chicken with cut up vegetables, with a side of pasta and a biscuit. What seems to be a relatively simple meal actually has a lot of nuances. For example, the vegetables have to be freshly cut and prepared every single day at the restaurant, and the rotisserie chicken was roasted on site. Just these two aspects meant that even though the material cost of this product was fairly low, the preparation and labor cost that went behind it made the margins very slim. I saw this in my second run of the virtual business challenge when I had an unoptimized menu and terrible waste management. I saw that I had high waste, there was like low appeal for my menu, and I had bad margins. Because of all this waste, I saw that I was unable to manage it properly. I also saw a lot of complaints from my customers about the menu I was serving. Not only did it not appeal to them, but it was not good in terms of productivity. And lastly, Boston Market fell pitfall to out-of-date marketing, which led to images like this. This is a food review video with a caption that says, "Disgusting food." Images like this ran Boston Market's image through the mud and destroyed their brand. This was a product primarily of their out-of-date marketing. Boston Market relied a lot on billboard marketing and was slow to advance into the social media space. Because of this, they were unable to push out their own version of what their image was, which was a safe place for families to come and enjoy their food. Instead, the reputation of Boston Market was low quality, and that detrimentally affected their business. In my last run of the BBC, I was able to utilize social media marketing, which was a much more effective way of marketing because it was more personalized and targeted. In fact, I saw that after implementing social media marketing, my store ratings increased exponentially. What was once a rating of 1.8 moved up to 4.7. This was due mostly to the social media marketing attracting customers into my restaurant. So, looking at my last round of simulation, I saw that I was able to optimize staffing, reduce waste and inefficiencies, and build a strong brand image with social media. All three of which helped me create not go bankrupt and create a very functional restaurant that was well managed. And so, taking a step back and thinking back to that younger version of me, sitting on top of the kitchen counter with the dream to start his own restaurant, I realized that there's a lot more that goes behind running a restaurant than just cooking. Yet there are parallels to be drawn. Confidence doesn't equal correctness. Just like in the kitchen, this can end up with you getting burnt. In a business, this leads to neglecting problems, and overconfidence ending up in having huge effects negatively. Secondly, simplicity beats overcomplication. When you're doing too many things at once, it's easy to get overwhelmed and you're unable to effectively manage everything at once. And lastly, efficiency is valued over activity. When you tap into that efficiency is when you finally start to take strides towards having an effectively managed business and making as much profit as you can while still enjoying what you're doing. And I'd like to end this off by thanking the Knowledge Matters team for developing the restaurant business simulation and giving me this opportunity to reap key insights about running a restaurant and helping me work towards my lifelong dreams. Thank you.